Good morning, sir. Good morning. Mr. Douglas, how old are you? I'm 46. Were you born and raised in Los Angeles? Yes. What part of LA have you spent most of your time? Windsor Hills area? Okay, is that in South Los Angeles? Yes. What do you do for a living? I do multiple jobs. I clean the parking lot, I do inventory, oversee packaging, I run the cell phone shop. I'm on the team. Okay, and when you refer to doing all those things, do you mean you do those things for the businesses that were owned and operated by Nipsey Joseph Askedam or Nipsey Hussle? Yes. Let me show you Grand Jury Exhibit 2. Can you see that exhibit on the monitor? Oh, Madam Foreperson, if you would raise the monitor for the witness, please. I'm sorry. A little bit more. Okay, and is that a photograph of Joseph Askedam, also known as Nipsey Hussle? Yes. How long have you known, or how long did you know him before his passing? I met him in 2003. And if you could, how would you describe your relationship with him over the years? Just a good friend, like a son, like a dad, just overall, all around good friends. Good friend of mine. Okay, I'm sorry, did you say what year you met him? 2003. Okay, and what was his connection to the area at 3420 Slauson? Let me show the people Grand Jury Exhibit number 4, this area. This area, the area that you referred to when you said, I work in the parking lot, I do inventory. You're talking about this area, correct? Yes. What is this area? It's a shopping center. It's a shopping center on Slauson and Crenshaw. Okay, and looking at this exhibit, there's a strip mall with certain businesses labeled Master Burger, Tax Insurance, T-Mobile, Fish, Barber. Did the Askedam family own and operate that location? Yes. Now, did they own and operate all the businesses there or just some of them? We own most. They operate most of them. 2 businesses pay rent. The Master's Burger and the tax place pay rent. We need to take that break now. I'm so sorry to interrupt your testimony, but we'll get you right back on the stand as soon as we can. Welcome back, Mr. Douglas. Go ahead and take that seat and adjust that microphone. Okay. And I have to ask you, hello? Okay. I have to ask you again if you left your cell phone outside. Yes. And have you no recording devices on you? No. That was a double negative. So you do not have any recording devices, correct? Yes. Okay. All right. So, Madam Foreperson, we do need to remind the witness of the oath, but there's a short version. Yes, because the witness has previously been sworn, and the short version is section number 13, page 8. You will recall that you have been previously sworn in and you are still under oath. Please restate your name. Herman Douglas. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. And Madam Foreperson, with your permission, may Mr. McKinney proceed? Yes. Thank you. Go ahead. All right, Mr. Douglas, before the break, can you lift his monitor, please? Oh, Madam Foreperson, the monitor for the witness? Not a problem. Little bit more. Little bit more. Too much, Mr. Douglas? There we go. Okay. And Mr. Douglas, if that falls, just pull it back up, okay? All right. Okay, go ahead. Okay, before the break, I had asked you about Nipsey. I'll call him Nipsey because that's what you called him, right? Yes. Nipsey's connection to this area, and you said that the family owned this entire plaza and operated the barber shop, what was going to be the fish restaurant, the T-Mobile store, and the Marathon clothing store, correct? Yes. And then they leased out the business, the space for the Master Burger, and the tax and insurance business, correct? We have the insurance company too. Okay. That's all storage. Okay. And just so the record's clear, you're referring to Grand Jury Exhibit number 4. Go ahead. How often did Nipsey visit this area? Let's say in the year before his death. How often would he come by this location? If he was in town, I would see him just about maybe every morning. He would roll up, like maybe he'd catch me out there maybe 8:30 in the morning, 7:30, or I would see him going down Slauson to drop his daughter off. If he was in town and he wasn't on a show, he would show up just about every day, every other day. Okay, in the morning times. In the year before his death, give us a sense of how often that was. I would say 3-4 times a week if he's in town. If he was in town? Yeah. How often? Were there some months when he wouldn't come at all? No. Okay, so if he had a busy work schedule or whatever it may be, if he was in town, he was definitely coming by the shop. So is it fair to say that he visited this area at least once every month in the year prior to his death? Yes. And it would vary depending on what his schedule was, whether he would be there a couple of times a week or maybe some weeks not at all? Yes. When he visited this location, were they public appearances? Were they announced visits? Or would he just stop by and just work the businesses? He would just stop by. When he was there, generally speaking, what would he do? Normally he would roll up and he'd just be in his car most of the time texting or whatever. He would get out of the car occasionally and talk to people, but most of the time he would roll up and basically sit in his car, you know. If he had an appearance or if it was a public event, then we would all know. So he normally would just roll up on his own. When he visited on prior occasions, that's prior to March 31st, would he typically arrive there alone or with security? Always by himself. He would always, only time he ever really had security is when he was on the road or on tour. As far as being in the inner city or coming to the job, he never had security ever. Were you expecting to see him on March 31st? No. When did you first become aware that he was at the location that day? Just that day I was doing my normal rounds or whatever it may be, and I looked out and he pulled up in the parking lot. Approximately what time did he get there? You know, I have no idea, but it had to be around lunchtime because I just ordered my lunch. So I normally take a lunch around 1, so I'm not really sure of the exact time though. And if you could tell us, was there anything distinctive about the way he was dressed that day? Nipsey? Yes. Distinctive? I remember he had on some shorts. Do you recall whether he had anything on his head? Oh yeah, the do-rag on his head. What color was the do-rag? I'm not sure, I can't recall offhand. Alright, let me show you. I want to say blue, I'm not sure. I'm going to show you a part of a video from Grand Jury Exhibit number 11. Before you do that, Mr. Douglas, can you explain to the grand jurors who may not know what a do-rag is? It's like a wave cap to keep your hair. It's a wave cap, something to keep your hair when you get it braided, something to put on your head so it won't frizz up. Thank you. Alright, Grand Jury Exhibit number 11 has a video from 3 different cameras. This will be cam number 6, and this particular clip has a date and time stamp at the top left. I'm going to go to 13:42 and 50 seconds and ask you to watch some of this video here. And I want to call your attention, let me approach. I want to call to your attention to the top of the right portion of the video as we look at it, okay? I'll start it at 13:42:29. We're looking up here. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to advance this clip to 13:46 and ask you to focus on that same. Did you see a dark colored vehicle pull in and park in front of the barbershop? Yes. Okay, I'm going to ask you to continue to focus on that video, and I'm going to go to 13:46. You see the person getting out of that vehicle? Yes. Do you recognize who that is? Yes. Who is that? Nipsey Hussle. Okay, he's walking across the lot. Do you see him greeting someone? Yes. Do you know who that person is? Rimpao. And finally, someone just appeared to walk out of the Marathon store. Do you know who that is? That's me. So does this video clip accurately show Nipsey's arrival to the store that day? Yes. Now, I'm letting the video play at this point. It's at 42:37. And while it's playing, it appears that you, Nipsey, and Rimpao are all talking to each other in the parking lot. Is that correct? Yes. Did you continue to talk to Nipsey and Rimpao for the next, I don't know, 10-15 minutes or so? Yes. I'm going to pause that video at that point at 13:47:35. And I want to show you Grand Jury number 3. Do you recognize the person shown here? Yes. Who is that? That's Shitty. Do you know him by another name other than Shitty? Eric now. What did you know him by on that day? Shitty. Did you learn that his true name is Eric Holder after that day? Yes. Did you know him prior to that day? Yes. What did you know about him before that day? I just know he was from the neighborhood. What does that mean, from the neighborhood? He's one of the neighborhood homies, one of the homies from the hood. Now, you testified earlier that this area of Crenshaw and Slauson is an area... Well, maybe you didn't. Let me ask you. Is there a gang that hung out, sort of claimed the area where the shopping center is? That's the Rolling 60s. How do you know that it's the Rolling 60s neighborhood? That's where I'm from. Okay, so you're a member of the Rolling 60s gang? No, I'm an ex-member, but yes. Okay, and what about Nipsey? Do you know if he was from Rolling 60s? Yes. And what about Holder? Yes. Do you? Yes. You believe he was too? Yes, he was. Okay, did you see Eric Holder that day? Yes. How did you first become aware that he was at the location? When he pulled up in the car, Nipsey had spotted him and he asked Rim Pow, "Is that shitty?" So going back to grand jury exhibit number 4, you said when he pulled up in the car, first of all, can you describe the car that you saw him arrive in? I just remember, I think it was a white car. I really couldn't remember what kind of make. Maybe a Honda or something. I'm not sure. All I remember, it's a type of white car. Okay, did you see that car enter the parking lot from one of the streets? Yes. How did it enter? Off of Slauson. Okay, I'm pointing to Slauson Avenue. Yes. Did it enter into the driveway closest to the barber shop? Yes. And that means that when it entered, it was facing southbound, correct? Facing south. Meaning facing the Marathon store? Yes. And then what did the car do after it pulled into the lot? Turned in and parked over there by, I guess over by those red cars over here. It came across and pulled in right over here somewhere. Over where I'm holding the pointer? Yeah, somewhere close like that, about there. So basically parked in front of the Master Burger, correct? Yeah, but closer to these cars though, yeah. Closer to the row of cars that's in the northern part of the parking lot? Yes. That's closer to Slauson? Yes. And if you're going left to right, the number 2 car is a red car. So it was right in front of that car? Front or behind that car? Right in between those two, somewhere up in there. Okay. And you testified that... This is a good time to break. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Douglas, but we take our lunch break at this time, and I had hoped we would be able to finish with you before lunch, but we're not going to be able to. So we're going to have you come back. Herman Douglas, called as a witness before the grand jury of the County of Los Angeles, having been previously sworn, resumed the stand and testified further as follows. And we have to remind Mr. Douglas of his oath again. You will recall that you have previously been sworn and are still under oath. Please restate your name. Herman Douglas. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. And as well, you left your cell phone outside and you have no recording devices on you, correct? Yes. Thank you so much. Madam Foreperson, with your permission, may Mr. McKinney proceed? Yes. All right, thank you. It's better for the grand jurors and the witness if the lights are dimmer. I don't mind. Go ahead. Thank you, though. Okay, Mr. Douglas, at the break I think you were testifying about seeing Mr. Holder arrive. Do you recall that? Yes. And you described how he entered the parking lot in a white car from Slauson, correct? Yes. Was he the driver or passenger in that car? Passenger. Does that mean that when the car first went by your location, he was closer to you than the driver was? Yes. And you testified that when the car went by, Nipsey made some reference to him. Is that correct? Yes. Tell us about that. Well, he just made a reference to Rimpow. He was just inquiring, is that shitty? Because I think nobody hadn't seen him in some years. Okay, so you heard Nipsey say, "Is that shitty?" as the car went by? Yes. When he said that, did you look into the car and see Holder in the passenger seat? No, the car had passed me, so I really couldn't see. I just overheard what he had said, and that's what got me curious of the car, and that's when Holder approached us. Okay, so my next question was, you described the car coming to a stop in the parking lot adjacent to the Master Burger, closer to the northern row of cars parked in the lot. What happened next? Shitty got out of the car and walked up and spoke to us. Okay, and when he approached you, can you tell us anything about how he was dressed? He didn't have a shirt on. He had no shirt on? He had no shirt on. Do you recall anything else about the way he was dressed? Maybe he might have had on some shorts, jean shorts or something, I'm not sure. Let me show you a grand jury exhibit. This is grand jury exhibit number 8. Do you recognize the person in this exhibit? Yes. Who is that? Shitty, Holder. Okay, and did he appear, meaning was his dress the same on that afternoon as he's shown in this exhibit? Yes. Do you know, this is some sort of a crop photo, but do you know the location where he was when this image was taken? Yes. Where is that? Master Burgers. Do you recall approximately how long you were in the lot with Nipsey before Holder arrived? Maybe a good 30, 40 minutes, maybe about 30 minutes, something like that. 30, 40 minutes. During the time period you were with him, did you ever leave his side? No. Meaning Nipsey's side? No. Mr. Douglas, can you get a little bit closer to that microphone? And in that time period, from the time he arrived to the time Holder arrived, can you tell us just generally what was going on? What was Nipsey doing? Well, when he got out of the car, we started talking. I was just telling him how proud I was of him about a video he had did a couple of days ago, just talking about the career. He had just been in the studio, talking to Rimpal, just talking about it. Felt like old times again, just talking and reminiscing. A couple people jumped out, wanted autographs coming out of the store. He signed a few photographs and talking to the fans. Okay, and what was his attitude and demeanor like before Holder arrived? He was just kicking back, laughing, having fun, just being himself. Did his attitude or demeanor change any after Holder approached your group? It didn't change really. He just had a conversation, and like Nipsey was more or less trying to look out for the dude, was trying to help him, like basically warning the dude, like, they got some paperwork on you. I haven't read the paperwork, but you got to watch your back. Okay, let me stop you right there because I want to ask a question to get to that point. Okay. So you testified that after Holder got out of the car, did you see the first place he went to after he got out of the car? I think he came straight to us, then he went to Master Burger, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if, I think he came straight to us, I'm not sure. Okay, but at some point he did come to your group, correct? Yes. Tell us what happened as best you can, including the conversation, if any, that you heard between him and Nipsey after he approached the group. Well, I remember them shaking their hands. I remember Nip like, hey man, what's up? Where have you been, bro? Like that. And he like, I've been gone. I've been gone. I've been out the way or whatever. And then Nipsey was like, man, they got some paperwork on you, I haven't read it, like you my bro, like you need to maybe take care of that, Let me stop you there. And I hate to interrupt you, but can you please explain what paperwork means? Like he was in jail for snitching, or he had told on somebody or something, there's rumors going around that he had told on somebody some particular stuff he may have told on, and Nipsey had told him that he hadn't read it. I haven't read any paperwork. I don't know, but you need to address it, or, basically telling the guy you need to be careful, because people got some paperwork on you. Okay, let me stop you right there. In gang culture, paperwork is a term that usually refers to police reports or court documents, correct? Yes. So if a gang member says to another gang member, you better be careful because there's some paperwork that says you told or you snitched, what they're referring to is some police reports or some court documents that show that the person was cooperating with the police or maybe told something about gang business or a crime or something like that. Is that correct? Yes. So that we follow up to this point in your testimony, you heard Nipsey telling that to Holder, correct? Yes. And he was telling Holder you might want to address that or take care of that? Yes. What does that mean, or what did that mean to you? That means, like, say, for instance, they had paperwork on me, I'm going to go address it. Like, if I know I'm not a bad or whatever, I'm going to come let somebody know, like, hold up, or, what's going on, I'm going to come clear. If there's some paperwork, I'm going to bring my court papers. I just got out of jail for a case or whatever. I'm going to come to the hood with my paper and say, look, this is what happened in the case, and maybe clear it up if I know I hadn't done nothing wrong. Why would somebody who's a rolling 60s need to clear up an accusation that there's some paperwork that says they're snitching? Well, if they're not snitching, they need to clear it up so that they won't, get hurt or whatever it may be. Okay, because in gang culture, snitching is not a good thing to be known to do, correct? Yes. What are some of the consequences that can flow from somebody who snitches? Everything from getting beat up to getting killed. Did Nipsey ever say specifically what Holder supposedly snitched about? No. Did he mention any names? No. Any cases? No. Any circumstances that you could describe in terms of what the snitching was about? No. Okay, now that we've clarified that, please continue with what you heard from the point where you left off. So when he told him, basically that he was kind of looking out for him, telling him to address the paperwork, and then Shitty got to saying, oh yeah, motherfuckers be hating on me. They be hating on me, And then Nip was like, so y'all know what I'm talking about. And he was like, no, people be hating on me. Then he looked and he asked us, had we heard this rap? Have we heard his new song? He said, yeah, I've been in the studio. I did my new song. Who said that? Shitty. He asked us, had we heard it? And we're like, nah, we haven't heard your song or whatever. And I think at that time, he might have shook our hand again. And I think he might have peeled off to go to the car, talk to the girl or something. Then he went back to Master Burger. Okay, was the conversation that you witnessed in that time period mainly a conversation between Holder and Nipsey? Yes. Were you chiming in at all with anything? I chimed in a couple times, and when he started to mention the songs and I looked at him, he just looked kind of weird, like I don't know, maybe he was high or whatever it may be. Basically, I told Nip at one point, come on, let's go in, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just check in. In that parking lot, we don't hang out too much like that. So Nip is there, we hang out for a little bit. It's time to get inside. So I had, we had been out there too long already. And basically I told him, come on, let's go in. And I think at that time he had started to sign somebody else's autograph, but that's a little bit later. Was there anything about Holder that made you feel like you wanted to get Nipsey away from him? I mean, it was a straight snake move, something in my gut. I felt something in my gut, and I asked myself, like at that split second, I asked myself, why do I feel this way, just his presence made me just had an uneasy feeling about him, his demeanor, and the stuff he was saying. It was no hint of any animosity. There was no hint of anything. Like I said, it was like a straight snake move. Had they had any type of words, I would have escorted him out, Had they just had, any type of, it was just a straight snake move. I never in a million years would I have thought he would have come back and done that, Judging by the conversation. I understand somebody's arguing and somebody leaves out. You kind of expect that. But there was never no argument. It was never, like I said, Nipsey was basically looking out for him, telling him that, I haven't read it. I don't know if it's true or not, but you need to address it. That's what Nipsey was doing. And what was Holder's attitude? I know you said that this was a conversation that didn't seem particularly heated to you, right? Yeah. They were both speaking in a normal tone of voice? Yes. Did you feel anybody was disrespecting the other person? Not at all, not at all. Had any disrespect went down, I would have escorted him off the parking lot. Okay, let me show you an exhibit. This is Grand Jury Exhibit number 9. Okay, do you recognize what's shown in this exhibit? Yeah. Okay, let me ask you some questions specifically. Now, this is an exhibit that shows the parking lot in front of the Marathon store, correct? Yes. Do you see this white car here off to the right side of the exhibit? Yes. Is that the car Holder arrived in? That definitely looks like it, because at some point in time they were facing this way, and at some point in time they were facing that way, because I remember him going over there and going back to the car. So when he first pulled in, he was facing that way. So at some point in time when he was talking to us or whatever, she must have busted a U, because then she was back that way. Okay, you're referring to the white car when it first came in? Yes. It came in first and it was facing that way. It was facing the fence? Yeah. And at some point it must have turned around to face the direction where you guys were? Exactly, because I looked at the car. I noticed it might have had some dice or something in the window when I remember looking at it, because for some reason he went from Master Burgers back to the car and was talking to her, and that's how I had a chance to see her in the car, dark-skinned female. Okay, let's see if we can identify some of the people in this photo. This photo has a number of smaller photos inset with arrows. So first, this person here, what appears to be a white cloth on his head, is that Nipsey? Yes. And so the exhibit accurately shows where Nipsey was standing? Yes. This person over here, the arrow pointing to you, is that you? Yes. This arrow down here at the bottom is pointing to a young man. Is that Rimpao? Yes. Okay. Then there's an arrow off to the right pointing to somebody with a question mark in the box. Do you know who that person is? Could have been a barber maybe. I'm not. Oh, her right here? No. Oh, him? This person right here. Oh. If you don't know, that's fine. I'm not sure. Okay, now this person looks like a short person with dark colored shorts and a white t-shirt. Do you know who that is? It looks like Ingrid that was bringing my food. It looks like her. I'm not sure. Okay, let me ask another question. And I'm so sorry, Mr. Douglas, but you need to speak into the microphone. And so you said that looks like Ingrid who was bringing you your food? Yes, I said it looks like. Okay, go ahead. At some point after Holder first approached your group and there was this conversation that you described, did another young woman walk up and ask to take a picture with Nipsey? Yes. Who was that person? It was if I'm not mistaken, an older lady had said she wanted a t-shirt, if I'm not mistaken. At the time we were talking, he might have signed, I want to say 2 autographs and maybe took 2 pictures. Did you ever see the driver of that white car approach your group? No. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. You said some other people came up and for autographs or something, and were those women or men? There was a couple. I think 2 guys came and took photos, and I think maybe 2 different females might have come and took some photos too. So do you know where they had come from? Just in the parking lot leaving out the store. The lady, she had left out the store and said to Nipsey, "Oh, I got a shirt. Can you sign it for me?" Basically, we'd get tourists around the world every day prior to this, so just in the parking lot. So you can't say where one of the women specifically came from, but someone came up to him for a picture? Definitely. The couple, they definitely came out of the store with their marathon bags. So definitely 2 to 3 of those people came out of our store. Okay, and they had bags and they had stuff for him to sign. And a woman wanted him to sign a t-shirt? Yes. Yes? And then there were 2 other women or 1 other woman? I want to say 2, people approached him. If he's not taking care of business and he's out there taking pictures, people will approach him. So my question to you is, Mr. Douglas, do you know where those additional women had come from, or you didn't see where they had come from? You just saw that they got close to him and then asked him? Yes, like we were talking and maybe they'll come up behind us and say, "Hey, can I get an autograph?" Like we're in between a couple of cars, so people come behind us and say, "Hey, Nip, can I get a picture?" or whatever. Okay, so there was someone, you just don't know where they came from. Yeah, they were in the parking lot. Okay, they were in one of the stores maybe. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Douglas. Go ahead. Okay, and for the record, this is Grand Jury Exhibit number 9. The one person I didn't ask you about yet is the person at the top here who you previously identified as Eric Holder. It's hard to see him in the group, but is it fair to say that this photo was taken during the conversation that you described Holder having with Nipsey? Yes. During that conversation, do you recall a young woman walking up and right in the middle of the conversation taking a selfie with Nipsey? Do you remember that or not? I remember I remember somebody came. I think I remember. If it wasn't one, maybe two people might have did selfies. I'm not sure. He took a couple of photos. Okay, let me go back. I'm going to show you that video that I showed you earlier. This is camera 6 from grand jury exhibit number 11, I believe. Yes. Yes. The same one as the last time. Camera 6? Yes. I'm going to forward through the time to 13:55 as it appears on the video. I'm not going to be able to place it precisely, so I'll just start it here, 13:55:17. So in the lot at this point is you, Rimpao, and Nipsey talking, correct? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. Thank you. And you guys are right here at the top of the image, correct? Yes. Now, we just saw a white car pull in. Did you see that? Yes. Is that the car that you testified Holder was in? Yes. So at this point, 13:56:14, Nipsey had already looked at the car and said, "Is that shitty?" Yeah, yes. So at this point, while the car is sitting there at 13:56:47, it looks like a gentleman came from out of the store and walked up, appears to be getting some kind of autograph or something. Did you see that? It appears like that. Is that true? Yes. And standing next to Nipsey, still you and Rimpao, correct? Yes. Now, look at the white car at the bottom, 13:57:10. Is that Holder getting out? Yes. And at 13:57:21, did you see where he went to? Yes. Where did he go? The Master Burgers. Okay, 13:57:35, it appears the car he arrived in is turning now to face your direction, correct? Yes. And I want you to focus on the Master Burger at the top of the screen. Did you see that person just walk out at 13:58? Yes. Follow him. Is that Eric Holder? Yes. He appears to not be wearing a shirt. Is that correct? Yes. And he appears to come over and shake Nipsey's hand at that point. Is that true? Yeah. So the group at this point is Nipsey, Rimpao, you, Eric Holder, and this person who came out of the store for what appeared to be an autograph, correct? Yes. Do you see the young lady getting out of the white car? Yes. At 13:58:40, she walks up to the group of you. Is that correct? Yes. Did you notice her at the time? Not at all. Okay. No. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. I want you to continue to watch. Okay, at 13:59:08 or so, it looks like she walks into the middle of the group. Did you see that? Yeah. And you're still standing there with Rimpao, Eric Holder, and this person who I'll call a fan, the one who got the autograph. The young lady is next to Nipsey Hussle here. Is that correct? Yes. Standing to his right side. And he puts his, it looks like he puts his arm around her at 13:59:33, and he leans back on the car. Do you see that? Yes. Do you know what happened at that moment? No. Do you know whether she took a picture with him at that moment? I don't know. Okay, in any event, she appears to go back to the white car. Do you see that? Yes. Did you notice that at the time, or are you seeing it for the first time now? First time. Okay, after she returns to the car, there's still the same group of men standing there, including Nipsey and Eric, correct? Yes. In fact, up here it looks like Nipsey is talking directly to Holder while Rimpao and you are standing right there in the group. Is that true? Yes. And we're continuing to watch the videos now at 14:01:15. It appears that Nipsey's talking directly to Holder, and he's even gesturing with his right arm a little bit. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. Is it during this time that they were having the conversation that you previously testified about? Yes. Regarding snitching? Yes. At 14:01:40, a black SUV pulls up, and it's to the south side of you, or to the right side of the images as we look at it here, correct? Yes. Do you recognize that car? I don't know the car offhand. I think I recall who was in it that day. I'm not sure. That day was the first time I saw that car, but I think Carrie was in that car. Okay. My Mac's about to lose power if I don't plug it in, so I'm glad it told us. Did you say Carrie was in the car? Yes. Kerry? Kerri? Kerry. I just call him Carrie. Male or female? Male. Thank you. Okay, I paused it at 14:02:29. This person here directly across from Nipsey with the light colored jacket looks like the passenger of the black car walked out and went up to Nipsey and is greeting him. That's Carrie Lathan, correct? Yes. And this person walking away from the group is Eric Holder, correct? Yes. At 14:02:37, it appears that Holder goes back into the Master Burger restaurant. Did you see that? Yes. Now, you testified at some point you saw Holder walk back over to the car, correct? Yes. At 14:03:28, it appears Holder has walked up to the driver's side of the car. Is that what you were testifying about seeing? Yes. And we're talking about the white car, correct, Mr. Douglas? Yes. At 14:04, it appears he walks from the white car back into the Master Burger. Is that correct? Yes. Meanwhile, you, Nipsey, Rimpau, Lathan are still gathered at the top of the video having a conversation, correct? Yes. And generally during this time after, is what you described as people just stopping by saying hello, getting autographs, that kind of thing, correct? Yes. I want to call your attention now back to the top of the video at the Master Burger door. It appears that Eric Holder walks out at 14:04:55 as the white car parks. He walks back over to your group again. Do you see that? He looks like he shakes Rimpau's hand or daps him up, meaning kind of giving him a pound, and then he immediately leaves with something in his hands back towards the white car. Is that what the video shows? Yes. Do you recall that happening? No. As the car pulls out of the space at 14:05:30 at the top of the screen, it still appears that you were there. You're holding something, is that right? Yes. What did you have in your hands? My lunch, tostada bowl. And the white car leaves the parking lot at 14:05:49. And at the top of the screen, it appears to be you, Rimpau, Lathan, leaning against the car, Nipsey in front of him. Is that correct? Yes. This person in the pink shirt, do you know him? Do you know someone named Shermy? Do you recall the driver of Who Brought Lathan? Yes. Okay, now you stayed out with this group of men having conversation for a period of time before you left. Is that correct? Yes. Where did you go when you left? I walked into the Marathon store, and from the Marathon store there's another door that leads into the insurance company. So there's a break room in the back of the Marathon store. So you have the Marathon store, there's a store room, and then the insurance. So we have a break room. Is that where you went? Yes. What did you go there to do? To eat my lunch. When you left, did you leave Mr. Lathan, Nipsey, Rimpau, and Lathan's nephew Shermy in the parking lot? Yes. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 14:10. And you let, just for the record, you let it continue to play until approximately 14:07? Yes, and I'm going to start it back up at 14:10:38. And do you see yourself walking into the store at this point? Yes. So that was you walking into that door, correct? Yes. Here is Nipsey, is that correct, with the white rag on his head? Yes. Mr. Lathan up against the car? Yes. Rimpau and Shermy, correct? Yeah. Let me pause it here because obviously you couldn't see what was happening at this point, correct? Yes. Pick up the story where you enter the break room. What happened next? Well, I'm sorry, let me interrupt. Pardon me. Mr. McKinney said while watching this video that you entered that door. Can you tell us which door you entered, and so that we know in watching this video and the record reflects that? So which door? Where it says the Marathon next to the T-Mobile sign, to the left of the T-Mobile. And that's in the top almost right corner of the picture, correct? Yes. Okay, go ahead. So now you're going to pick up when you went into the break room. So when I walked into the Marathon store, walked around the corner, when I got to the break room, sat down with my salad, I heard the gunshots. I heard maybe a few gunshots. I started running out to the front. I heard some more gunshots. When I got to the front door, seen Nipsey on the ground and seen Holder running. Okay, where did you see Nipsey on the ground at? From that angle, I saw maybe by that white car up in there. I could just see him on the ground. When you say white car, are you referring to, well, you know what, better yet, let me show you an exhibit. Grand jury exhibit number 15. I'm showing you grand jury exhibit number 15. Do you recognize what's shown in this exhibit? Yes. What does it show? It shows me helping him. When you ran, after hearing the shots and running out of the Marathon store back toward the parking lot, you testified that you saw Nip down. Is that correct? Yes. Nipsey down. Is this where you saw him? Yes. Okay, and it appears in this exhibit that you're leaning down over him trying to render some kind of first aid. Is that correct? Yes. You testified that one of the other things you saw when you came out was Holder running away. Did you testify that way? Yes. Let me go back to grand jury exhibit number 4. Can you point to or describe something on this exhibit that shows where you saw Holder as you re-entered the parking lot from the store? I think it was somewhere in this area, an area right by Master Burgers, up in that area somewhere, about to turn that corner. When you say turn the corner, are you referring to the corner at the edge of the Master Burger building and the alley? Yes. So he was running towards Crenshaw Boulevard? Yes. In that direction? Yes. What part of his body did you see? I just remember seeing him just, I heard the yelling, I looked, I seen Nip on the ground and just looked up and I just saw him basically the back of his head. Okay, so you saw someone who you believe was Holder for a split second running away from the direction of the parking lot, correct? Yes. Did you assume that it was the same person who Nip had called shitty earlier? I didn't assume, I knew it. Yeah, I knew it was. Okay, how did you know it was him? I just know him when I see him. We had just talked to him. Okay, was the person you saw shirtless when you saw him running in that direction? At the time, I really couldn't say. At the time, like I said, I just looked up and remember seeing him and seeing my boy on the ground. Okay, so it was an assumption that you made based on that split-second observation, seeing a person running away from behind, correct? Yeah. Now, we saw in the last exhibit you rendering first aid to Nipsey. Did he have any obvious injuries that you saw? Yes. Can you just generally describe the kinds of injuries that you saw? What you saw? He had a bullet hole. He had a bullet hole between his arm right here. I was holding the blood and the bullet right here. And he had a bullet hole in his stomach. So you indicated under the arm and you took your right hand and put it under, sort of under your left armpit. Is that correct? Yes. And you also said there appeared to be another bullet hole on his lower right abdomen? Yes. Was he saying anything to you when you got up close to him? No, he was still breathing, like biting his tongue a little bit. Then he was just trying to fight it, trying to gain consciousness, and he was going out, and he just kept fighting. Did you stay with him until other people arrived? Yes. At some point, did his brother arrive? Yes. What's his brother's name? Sam. How long did it take, approximately? I know you weren't counting or looking at a watch, but approximately, or how would you describe how long before Sam arrived? He got there pretty fast, a couple of minutes maybe. And at some point, did police officers or paramedics arrive? Yes. Who arrived first, if you remember? Police. And did you notice whether anyone else appeared to be injured other than Nipsey? At the time, only person I saw was Nip. You work in this parking lot and you help the family with several of the businesses there, correct? Yes. Are you aware of any video cameras that are affixed to the strip mall? Yes. Are there a number of cameras affixed to the outside of the Marathon store? Yes. Do those cameras, or were those cameras working that day? Yes. Were they recording? No. Those cameras, of all the cameras in this area, there are cameras in front of this store that would be the closest to what happened, correct? Yes. Have those cameras ever recorded to your knowledge? Never. So those cameras then just show a live feed? Yes. Inside the store? Yes. Let me go back to Grand Jury Exhibit 8. You testified that this is the way Eric Holder looked when he first arrived and had that conversation with Nipsey, correct? Yes. Do you see any Rolling 60s symbols or gang tattoos in this photograph on him? Yes. What do you see? Looks like 60s on his stomach. Okay, and that would be these very large letters here? Yeah. Anything else that you could see in this picture? No. Did you see any weapons on him that day? No. I just want to look through my exhibits, sir, and see if there's any other exhibits I want to show you. All right, thank you. I have no further questions. Mr. Douglas, we're not finished yet. The grand jurors also get to ask questions, so let me see if they have any questions for you. If there are any questions for Mr. Douglas, please raise your hands so the sergeant-in-arms can collect them. Okay, let me go back to the grand jury exhibit number 15. In this photograph, you testified that you are kneeling and attending to Nipsey, who's on the ground in front of you, correct? Yes. Do you see this man over here to the left behind the white car with the license plate ending in 605? Yes. Is that Kerry Lathan? Yes. And you previously testified that, or that you knew who he was? Yes. How did you know Kerry? Just one of the older homies in the neighborhood. Okay, and what about, I asked you about his nephew or the driver of the car. In this photograph, there's a man standing up in dark colored pants in the pink shirt. Do you recognize him? I recognize him just as the one that came with Kerry that day. Okay, did you know him before that day? Offhand, no, I don't think so. Okay, and that was a grand jury question. Yes, that was a question. The question from the grand jury was, does he know the other two victims? So I asked you earlier if you were a Rolling 60s gang member, correct? Yes. How did you answer the question? Yes, but I'm no longer, I'm a gang, I was raised in the neighborhood. Now I try to stop people from becoming gangbangers. So Nipsey's one of the people that I taught not to do the gangbanging, do something else. I gave him other options through music, basketball, football, do something else. So since I came home from prison, I've been trying to get people out of the gangs. Okay, now when it comes to getting out of a gang, you can agree or disagree with what I'm about to say, okay? When it comes to getting out of a gang, sometimes I've heard it described as when you're from a neighborhood and you're part of a gang, you don't just get out of it. You redirect your energies, you redirect your focus, you stop engaging in certain criminal activities, but you're still loyal to your neighborhood and to your gang. Is that a true statement, or how would you change that? I wouldn't say you got to be loyal to your gang. You're always going to be affiliated with your gang just by where you live at. If your mother grew up in Inglewood, more than likely you're going to be affiliated with Inglewood, even if you bang or don't bang. It's just that's the section you grew up in. Doesn't matter if you're from Inglewood or not. It depends where your mama grew up at. Okay, so you first testified when you first met Nipsey, you tried to refocus him away from gang activities or criminal activities into something else. Is that correct? Yes. So that means that you were both affiliated with the 60s at the same time, at that time, correct? At the time when I met Nipsey in 2003, he was at that stage where he was from the hood. He was going to be from the hood eventually, and I told him the ins and outs of the hood, and I just told him about the hood, and he made decisions on his own. He hung with the homies for a while, and he weighed his options, and he chose. He made the right decision. He chose to do something different. Okay, and what about Holder? When did you first become aware of him? Do you remember what year, or if you can, just continuing back from the time this happened, how long it had been that you had heard of him, or for the first time? Basically, I met everybody 03, 04, right up in there. Like I said, they were youngsters back then. I think Nipsey might have been 19 or something when I first met him. 18, 19. So they were all young. Were you in the Rolling 60s at the same time as Holder, or had you already left the gang life? No, I already left it, but I always been there. I always been there just dealing with the youngsters, That's just my neighborhood. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm going to be at. Like I said, I'm just there to the ones that listen, they listen. The ones that want to continue to gangbang, It's on me just to tell them what's going to happen. If you do this, it's going to happen. If you do that, that can happen. I'm just here to, that's just my job, just to let them know, you know, right from wrong. That's all I can do. When people live in the neighborhood, do they know who the gang members are? Yeah. Yes? Yes. Okay, and that was somewhat paraphrasing a grand juror question. Any additional questions from any grand jurors? And this is a grand juror question. I'm looking at Exhibit 15. There is a person to the right of you next to the black vehicle. Do you know who that person is? It looks like Rimpau. Rimpau? Okay. And did the conversation between Mr. Holder and Mr. Hussle, Nipsey, change during the entire time that you were there? No, the whole time I was there, like I said, I never would imagine that. I never had a clue, judging by the conversation, never had a clue that that would happen, you know? Had the conversation got anywhere heated, I would have never left, you know? I would have escorted Holder out of there, you know? Nipsey's an artist, so if he's feeling uncomfortable, I'm going to make sure he leaves. So he never felt uncomfortable around Holder. All right, thank you, Madam Foreperson. If you will lower the monitor and please again remind the witness of the admonition, and we will take a break.